Hey, how you doing? Hope you are well. We're certainly well here. I'm excited about Daymaker. I'm excited about what God is doing with Daymaker. I'm excited about what God is doing with so much, and I praise God for His goodness, His mercy, His open doors, and all that He's doing in my life. I think I'm in the greatest season I've ever been in. I thank God for that. Hey, listen, I want to talk to you about joy. You got that joy, 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 joy down in your heart. Joy is huge. It's such a picture of what we need in our spirit. You know, I like to say oxygen, what oxygen is to the body, that joy is to your spirit. You know, the letters Joy speak so much. J means Jesus, O stands for others, and the Y stands for yourself. And if you'll put your life in that order, Jesus, others, and yourself, Joy, we will experience great joy. I just really believe putting our attention on others makes our joy full. And as Jesus served so many people, Jesus had so much joy. Why? He constantly served others and lived for others. I did a little research today on joy, something beyond what I've been thinking about. There's six passes, six paths and passes to joy. Number one, the joy of our senses, the taste of food. You guys know if you're emotional eaters, food makes you happy, right? The joy of growth, focusing on hard to learn things, listening to things, putting a good day's work in, feeling of overcoming challenges and pride of achievements. Growth brings joy. The joy of all, which is I talked about yesterday at Lightbridge, being connected to things that are bigger than what we feel, bigger than ourselves. Things like family, community, God, religion, country, nature, faith, and witnessing beautiful gestures and acts of kindness. The joy of all, the joy of growth, the joy of senses. Here we go. The joy of relationships, being seen by others. I talked to you about how Carter Grace goes, "Aw," because she has great joy, but I never thought about why. Because she's a connector. She wants to connect to people. My wife kind of thrives on relationships. Maybe you do too. Being seen, helping others, holding others, being held. And then there's another path to joy, the joy of play, the joy of amusement, excitement, silliness, and laughter. Think about it. Man, there are so many ways to enhance and embellish our joy. And then there's the last path to joy is the joy of being yourself, taking what you're great at and offering it up to others. There is a joy in being yourself. There is a joy in being true to yourself. There is a joy in being true to God. Now, I want to dive into something I said yesterday. Have you've heard the saying, the joy of the Lord is your strength. And you know, the joy of the Lord is your strength. Here's who it was written to. The joy of the Lord is your strength was spoken to a people whose city was rampaged. Their relatives were taken hostage. Their economy was voided. Their walls were broken down, and their nation was under the control of an adversarial, oppressive government. Can you imagine having your relatives taken, your walls in your city are broken down due to war, your land is rampaged, your economy is broken? I just can't imagine. And then a prophet stands up and tells you the joy of the Lord is your strength. And of course, he's trying to lead a nation into recovery. And he's trying to say, we have to get away from depression. We have to get away from despondency. We have to get away from discouragement. We have to get into joy. Here's what I said as I'm going to close. Joy is the result of pleasing God. Joy is, think about when you please God. Think about when you displease him. You don't walk in much joy when you've failed or when you've sinned, right? There's not a lot of joy that goes on between you and the Lord when you're not in right standing with him. Joy is the byproduct of obedience. Joy is the byproduct of obedience. When you've obeyed the Lord, whether through prayer or fasting or following an intuition, doing the things that God's called you to do or to be or to go or to give or to sow, whatever that's like, there's a joy that comes inside of that. And then there's the joy. Joy is a sister to being grateful. When you practice joy, the way to have joy is to be grateful. All the things I said earlier about the paths to joy. Just think about being grateful for the food that you have. There's a joy in that. Being grateful about being yourself. There's a joy in being thankful to who God created you to be and grateful for that. And then the last one is joy is the fruit of contentment. I love what the Apostle Paul said. I've been rich and I've been poor, but I've learned to be content in whatever state that I am in. And that's important to all of us. I think the greatest thing about joy is that we can have. Listen, there is a time to sorrow, there is a time to suffer, there's a time that we go through hard things. I'm not trying to say that joy should be something we should have every moment of every day, because there are seasons and times for different things in our life. But joy, and an internal joy, is an underlying foundation to living life, whether you're going through a hard time or whether you're going through good times. The joy of the Lord is our strength. And that's my day maker for you today. And maybe you're struggling, and maybe you're going through a hard time, and maybe something's going on in your life, or maybe crisis or trauma. You know what? There is joy to be found in that. God can give you and return to you the joy of your Lord. David said that to bring back the joy of his salvation, the joy of his salvation. There is a joy in being saved. There's a joy in being alive. There's a joy in living this life. Thank you for letting me speak into your life. Thank you. I hope I'm helping. Thank you. I hope that I am adding value to your life. I look forward to seeing you. Listen, tomorrow is the podcast. It's going to be a stellar podcast, about 20 minutes of inspiration. I'm thinking about just giving you guys some quotes this week and just tying those together in something. So I'm really going to give you some meat on the podcast. So don't forget to download the podcast from Buzzsprout, or from Podcast Leaser, or from Deezer, or from Apple, or from Spotify, or from Amazon. I'd love to see you over at the podcast this week. Remember, you're blessed and highly favored of the Lord. I am so excited to be a part of your life, and I'll see you Thursday right here on Daymaker.